Is your spouse unrepentant from betrayal and you wonder, when do I walk away? Do you wonder, what is healthy? Do I stay or do I leave?
Adele and I are so excited to have Gary Thomas with us for this interview. He is a best-selling author, international speaker, teaching pastor, and full of wealth and wisdom. He has some incredible wisdom around betrayal inside marriage. What is an unrepentant spouse? When should you walk away from an unrepentant spouse? And is it biblical?
If somebody is being destroyed, they're being so demeaned, I don't think that honors God. And so don't let the standing equal putting your life on hold. Well, there are different meanings to walk away. There's separation and there's divorce. And I'll usually tell couples, you don't have to resolve the divorce question right now. Separation can be perilous because if you've got a lot of tension and hurt in your marriage and then you separate, immediately the tension is gone because you're just away from that immediate situation. But that doesn't mean that a divorce is the right answer. But there have been times I recommended separation when a husband was really controlling his wife to an extreme degree, and she was just done. She couldn't handle it. And so she had rented an apartment where she was going to move out. And I said to the husband, you know what? Because he really wanted to keep the marriage, you're going to move into the apartment. Your behavior has caused this. She gets the house, you go to the apartment, and you can't contact her because he would do some manipulative things or whatnot. I go, if she contacts you, you can respond, but you've got to let her breathe. Now, that was extreme advice, but she had contacted a lawyer. She had papers written up, and I thought, what's there to lose? He said to me, not contacting her was the most difficult thing he ever had to do. But today, they're in a happy marriage. They said it was the best advice they could ever have gotten. He needed to realize the consequences of his controlling behavior was such that his wife just couldn't go on. It was destroying her. He had to see that, and to be completely out of control, where now she's completely in control, was just what he needed. And so she walked away by separating, and he got out of the house, but they didn't get a divorce. There may be situations, I talk about this in my book, When to Walk Away, when I think if somebody is being destroyed, they're being so demeaned, I don't think that honors God. I've two occasions I can think of where the husband was unfaithful, but not just unfaithful. His attitude was such that it was really kind of demeaning her and diminishing her. And the one where the husband was, his wife was so manipulative with sexual withholding and other things. And then ultimately they got divorced. This is two different couples. It's fascinating because the wife's mom said to me, Gary, I have my daughter back. She's smiling again. I've heard her laugh for the first time in years. And then the mother of the man said, Gary, I've got my son back. He's back to life. He's just not. And it told me they were really being destroyed in these marriages. And I think divorce was the only way out. And I think in their cases, they had biblical reasons for that. So I think you walk away when you realize it's what's best for your children. I mean, if you've got a spouse with a serious substance abuse issue or something where it just may not be safe for the kids to be with them. If they've got a drinking problem and you don't trust them not to drive with your kids, I want to keep them as far away from that parent as possible until they're well into recovery. If there's certainly abuse issues, if the drinking leads to verbal or physical abuse. But I also, because I believe in our mission before God, that if somebody is not able to be who God created them to be because they're just being destroyed within this marriage, then I think it's time to walk away for you to be faithful to do. And I know how could you say that? It's the book of Luke 16, where some said, some of you will leave husbands, mothers, children, and wives for the sake of the kingdom. Now, I spent my whole life trying to keep marriages together. I believe one of my highest forms of worship is to cherish and love and be faithful to my wife, God's daughter. So I think that's a very, very narrow circumstance where you're actually leaving a spouse to serve God. So I'm terrified that I just said that. But Jesus mentions it. So I think we have to leave that open. If somebody's in a real abusive, demeaning, soul-sucking, soul-destroying situation, then it may be time for them to walk away to do what God has called them to do.
Have you ever heard of the term standers? Is it standers or standing for the marriage? It's something that we've learned through this ministry, but it's when the spouse has left in unfaithfulness to be with someone else, and the other spouse is standing for the marriage because they don't believe in divorce. And I'm curious, how long should they stand and wait, and also including when it's unhealthy for them to stand
And what to
wait?
do in the meantime, in the standing? What do they do in that time frame?
I've worked with some couples where this has happened, and I've shocked the other spouse. I'll hand them Pure Pleasure, my book, Pure Pleasure. I said, your job right now is to have the happiest, best life you could ever have. Because I've never heard pleading and begging and just ever draw a spouse back. I said, you want your spouse to see you at your best, that even without them, you're coming alive, new hobbies, new friends, you're growing in the Lord, you're experiencing more joy. Your job is to be the most joyful, power-filled, God-anointed, good work serving person on the history of the planet, and let that invite them back. Now that's for the second part where I said, what do you do in the meantime? Build your life, because it's not likely your spouse is going to come back. So you've got to build a new life apart from that. And Adele, to answer the first question, it's difficult for me because I've had several people tell me, I think I waited longer than I should have, which I respect, to be honest. I mean, they did it out of their love for God. They did it out of love for their spouse. In retrospect, I said I probably waited a little too long. I think that's probably better than just not waiting long. Now, I'm hesitant to say that because I don't want somebody that's been waiting. If their spouse has been remarried for a decade, I think it's clear that it's over. And usually when there's been a remarriage, at that point, I really think the other spouse is free. I think that constitutes abandonment completely. And so if there's been a remarriage, that's where I think the standing, biblically, I don't think there's a requirement for the standing. I know they don't recognize that marriage as valid, but at that point, I think it's best to kind of move on. That doesn't mean you have to get remarried. If you really believe God has called you to do that, and you say, I'm going to be here for when that falls apart, and then we can be reconciled, that's okay. But I've seen, boy, I want to be so sensitive when I say this, but I have seen some earnest women confusing their desire with God's direction.
Yes.
Because they so want him to come back, which I understand. They're just hearing that God is saying that he's going to come back. And I've had a woman where I think the remarriage had been like 12 years. I know he's coming back. My heart breaks. Because I think she's confusing her desire with God's promise in that case. And she had been waiting for 12 years. Yeah. Her life was just kind of on hold. I don't think we ever put her life on hold. I think we actively serve God. We worship God. We love our family. We love those who will love us. We're made to be relational. And so don't let the standing equal putting your life on hold. I think that's always wrong. Yes. I admire those who wait and trust and wait for God to work a miracle. I respect that. I honor that. That's different than putting your life on hold.
It is. Hey, wait a minute. Before you click off this video, would you consider subscribing? Our entire channel is here to support you in the healing after betrayal. And every week we release a new episode. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button now. I remember not having a clue of how to set healthy boundaries. Travis and I created a program that is exactly for that. It's a step-by-step program that walks couples through betrayal. Betrayal was one of the most confusing times of my life, and I would have given anything to have a guide to walk me through this. Other couples that have taken this program have experienced healing from betrayal, forgiveness, as well as being able to set healthy boundaries that support the healing and support the marriage. Healing from betrayal can sometimes take years to recover from. That doesn't have to be you. Because of this step-by-step guide, you can access your healing right now from betrayal. So I want to encourage you, check out the link below in the description and see if this program is right for you. Hey, if you found value in this episode, would you give us a like? This tells YouTube that more couples should see this episode. So you are furthering the healing of other couples walking through betrayal just by giving us a like. Thanks for doing that. Thanks for joining us today, and we really hope you join us next week. We'll see you later.